part of this Shiur is a concept which I have to demonstrate it. It's a show and tell Shiur. The question is how we're going to show it for those people who are on Zoom. That's the harder part. Okay, let's move this back a little bit. Some room here. Okay, Rav, you have a Chumash? Okay. Parashat Chayei Sara Shishi is again in the sequence of Shishis that we've been learning, is again one with which presents itself some really important, significant challenges of why the Torah needs to give us this amount of detail, or what the purpose of it, or even to understand what's supposed to be telling us. So yeah, it's a kapitel Chafei. But Yosef Avram Vikach Yishu Shma Keturah. Yosef Avram adds on, which is a question: what did he add on? Vayikach, and he took a Isha, a wife, Shma Keturah. So Rashi says, Keturah Zu Hagar, right? Nikras Keturah Hashem says Shenoim Asek Keturas, because her deeds now are as fragrant as the Keturas. That she tied herself up, she refused to have any other relationship with any other man from the day that she left Abraham. She had been Abraham's consort, and that was it. There was nobody else that she would even allow to come close to her. And Pasuk Gimel, these are all now other nations that have come from Keturah. Okay, so we should then expect really great things from the child of Abraham and Keturah.
Look how many children he had afterwards.
Huh?
He only started with Yishmael and Yitzchak, and all of a sudden he's having a bunch of kids.
That's right. Vayitein Abraham es kol asher lo liYitzchak, and Abraham then gives everything that he had to Yitzchak. So Rashi said, Vayitein Abraham Nechem birchas Twerski. He gave him. I'm not sure exactly what the Twerski is. He handed over the authority. Hashem told Avram that you will be a person of bracha. Hashem gave to Avram the power to give brachas. The brachas Mashiach says we have to give brachas. But Avram, Moshe Yitzchak, and Avram gave him to Yitzchak. V'livnei apilakshim pasuk zayin pasuk bav v'livnei apilakshim ashel Avram nosan Avram matonas v'yishachem el Yitzchak v'lei v'den l'chakein m'aleres kedem. And so then these children of the Pelagshim, again, Pelagshim over here actually says choser. It's missing a yud. Because they only had one Pelagish. So even though it looked like it was plural, it's only Lashon. There's only one. He Hagar, he Keturah. That's the Pelagish. It's Hagar. That's Keturah. What's the difference? Is Nashim b'ksuba, Pelagish v'lei ksuba. Pelagshim v'lei ksuba. The difference is that a wife you have to give a ksuba, and a Pelagish you don't have to give a ksuba. Avram gave them matonis, so he gave matonis. So Pirush Rabbeinu, the Chazal tell us, Shem Tuma Mosalem. He gave them the Shem, the holiest name that empowers Tuma. Davar Achar, Mashenitan Loi Al Oida Soro, that he gave everything to them, everything that he'd gotten because of the stuff that he had benefited from Sara. B'shar Maton Shenastu Loi. Everything else that had been given to him, everything he gave to them, he didn't want to have any pleasure, benefit from them. Yeah, we know that in Mitzrayim they gave him all sorts of tzoyin and gemalim and susim. Right, gave a lot of the Avram Chamarim, And same thing, Avimelech gave him a lot. And from Sodom, there was also a tremendous amount of wealth which Abraham did not want to hold on to. He gives this all the way to Bnei Keturah, to the Bnei Pelagshim. So the question is, if that's what made Abraham so wealthy, so what was left? What did he give over to Yitzchak? Doesn't say. So Yitzchak gave everything they had to Yitzchak, but not by the rest of the stuff. The vast volume of his wealth he gave over to Bnei Pelagshim. So the question is like, why didn't it say how much was left for Yitzchak? Ve'ela yemei shnei chaya Avram, they were going to post Zayin. Ve'ela shnei chaya Avram shachayim me'as shonim v'shim shonim v'cham shonim. And Avram then is now 175 years old. Ve'yigva v'yomas Avram b'steva tova v'zokin v'savea. Yosef ben Avram is passed away, and he died, and he was in a good old ripe age, old and satisfied. Yosef Elamov. And he was gathered to his people, which is a unique title for tzaddikim. So again, the pasuk goes just like it did at the beginning of Chayei Sara with Sara, when it gives 100, when there was 127 years, there was 175. Rashi says Ben Kuf, Kiben Ayin. When he was 100 years old, he's really like 70 years old. But Ben Ayin, Kiben Hey, and when he was like 70 years old, he was like 5.
They only explain that part.
170 and 5.
But somebody said we explain what each one stood for.
Doesn't say.
Beauty with this, but here it just says.
Yeah. And what's this 100 like? Is 100 like 70? 100 like 20. We understand. The Sara was, she was 100. She was young and fresh, like 20 years old, and she was like 7 years old. Knocking menachet, right? It doesn't say anything. What happened? How did we get to what's the purpose of the 100 to the 70 to the 5? Maybe 7 years old and growing up in that environment, it would be Nokim Menachet, and 5 years old, of course. Pasuk Tes. Vayigbu Oisa Yitzchak v'Yishmael bonav el Ma'as Malchel shel Sdei Ofen ben Tzoicha Hachita shel Pnei Mamre, and the Yitzchak and Yishmael, his sons, buried him in the Ma'as Malchel, which is by with the hill of the Ephraim Tzoicha, that is in front of Mamre. It's Rashi. But Yitzchak v'Yishmael, it gives in sequence Yitzchak v'Yishmael. Mikan, because of this sequence that Yitzchak is given. It goes first, even though Yishmael was older. Yishmael tshuva. Just Yishmael tshuva. Tell us that Yishmael did tshuva. But Yitzchak and he allowed Yitzchak to precede him. He saved a taiva, and that's the good old age. Shenem Avram, that's Avram that he had. But all of his sons, that even Yishmael died. Yishmael died as a tzaddik.
Well, last week the Rebbe said that Yishmael, when he was being sent away, he became a Shiur then?
Huh?
The Rebbe said last week with the Shiur.
Yeah.
When he was sent out from the house, at that moment he did Shiur.
No, that time then he was then doing tshuva because he was dying. Then there's the Seif Yomov. At the end of his life, he did tshuva. How do we know that? Because you let Yitzchak go first. So, okay. So the Ibn Ezra says, it says, I have to look at it again. It says, what's the proof? Because Yishmael was Mechaber Yitzchak. Maybe it was simply that Yishmael didn't want to be the first one to bury his father. He wasn't so happy with him. But Chazal tells us no. Chazal tells us that he did tshuva. Okay? But if it wouldn't be for that, Chazal tells us that Yishmael did tshuva. The fact that Yitzchak precedes Yishmael over here would not be proof in itself.
Right. I mean, wasn't Yitzchak, the rightful one,
Right. Yeah, Yitzchak is the Irish. So Yishmael showed up for the Levaya. Okay, that's the proof. That's the proof. So he says, if reminds me of Kliyaka. If it wouldn't be that the Chazal told us that Yishmael did Tshuva, I wouldn't know from this pasuk.
How do you know that Esav did Tshuva?
We don't know that Esav did Tshuva.
Huh?
We don't know that Esav did Tshuva.
No, they say that's why his head is why the Mercy of Pelagos. He knocked off his head and before that the Tshuva.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Marasa Machpelah, again, you have to trust the tour guides. Because the place where they have those big cement monuments for Avram, Yitzchak, for Avram and Sara, Yitzchak, that's not true. It's not where they're buried.
They're all in the same place.
They're all in the same place. They're all more or less under where it says Avram and Sara. They're all beside the other places where.
So Avram and Sarah I was there now. So Avram and Sarah.
Yeah.
Everyone else, Yitzchak is also buried.
Everybody's there. That's
They're all in the
the
same
Marshal
exact
Palace. The other places were just made by either by the Crusaders or by Muslims who wanted to try and distract Klal Yisrael from the truth of davening.
Or by people who are trying to, disperse traffic so you don't have a million people in the same
Right. So
one place.
everybody's running around to different. Right. So we're walking out and we passed by a room. There's another one of those. So there was one of the Arabs sitting there. So we said, "Who's this? This is Esav."
Yeah.
I guess that they had a Messiah that they had. This is where Esav's head is buried.
This, I think it was 2000 when I was there.
Yeah.
I remember everyone has the name, big, nice plaque, and Asa was just written in purple marker on the wall.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
Where's Yishmael buried?
Esav we know.
ask the tour guides.
Esav we know because they saw his head rolling.
Right.
What's the name?
Yeah, there's always interesting to get from the tour guides.
Yeah.
All right. The field that Avram bought from Bnei Ches, that's where Avram was buried, and Sarah's wife. Avram, and Rashi said, Nachum Tanchum das Kodesh Baruch came to Menachem Abel Yitzchak. The Avram, even though he gave the brachas to Avram, that Avram became the power of brachas. Nisur the brachas Yitzchak. Avram was afraid to give Yitzchak the bracha. He saw that Esav is going to come from Yitzchak. So if I give a bracha to Yitzchak, maybe the bracha will transfer to Esav. So therefore, he didn't want to give. He says, "Let Hashem, the one who is the source of the all brachas, let him take care of the brachas from this point on." So therefore, Hashem came and gave Yitzchak the bracha himself. He didn't know it wasn't a bracha that was transmitted from Avram. Avram was afraid to give Yitzchak a bracha.
What was the reason why Avram died at 175 and not at 180?
Because Esav did. That Esav went off the derech.
Right. So he didn't. But he knew that's going to happen.
Yeah, I guess so. Huh? So I have a list of questions, and the answers are a little bit more difficult. The questions are, first of all, as we start off with Yosef, Avram, he added it, when it did more. What did he do more? And why was it necessary? Avram was 140 years old. Why wouldn't Avram needed to have Torah? Because Yitzchak now had Rivka, so I guess he didn't want to take care of Avram. Find him a wife. Avram needed to have.
Weren't they still, married?
What?
When he sent Hagar out, he divorced her? Or
he divorced her, yeah. Then he took her back. Or if she was a Pelegish, if she was a Shivcha, she always remained a Shivcha. Maybe he never freed her. They took her back. So number one is, what was the purpose? What was the purpose of this whole Keturah? And if you want to say that Avram had a purpose of these children. What happened to these? What happened to Bnei Keturah? He sent them out. This says Avram sent them out. Right? He sent them out to the east. So there's those Yeshayim that this is the source of the emperors of China, or the Bnei Keturah. Okay, good. Even that the children of Avram Avinu, they became leaders of other nations in the east. Was it Twerski? What was unnecessary? And then, if he wants to say that he gave everything, all the matanos, all the rest of the stuff to the Bnei Keturah, it should have said that first. It says there was a Kol Bnei Keturah, and then it says Bnei Keturah, he gave them gifts and sent them away. And then it should have said because afterwards whatever's left, right? He gave it to Yitzchak because the gift tells him Yitzchak before the matanos. So, according to some Mepharshim, Rabbi Cohen has a whole cheshbon on it that Avram Avinu was Hashem gave him the name Avram. Av Haman Goyim Nesaticha. I'm making you a father of many nations. Right? So, where was the many nations? Avram Avinu he said, I have to fulfill the rest of be the head of many nations. So he had more children because Yitzchak was only one.
Oh, and Yishmael.
And Yishmael. Okay. But that's not many nations.
From them, come out of the nations.
Yeah, he said, but he put this in the sentence like this. Avram had Yitzchak, which is from Sara, that's from Shem, because Terach of Yah, the descendants of Shem. Mitzrayim came from Chum, and Keturah at this point, according to some version, was from Yafes. He needed to make sure that all of the children of Noach were represented in the bracha of Av Haman going to Saticha. Had to be Shem, Chum, and Yafes. He had to be in all the nations of the world. It has to be Mizera Avram. Okay, so we come up to a place where what the matanos that Avram gave to Bnei Keturah. Right? So what Rashi said. Matanos. Pirish Rabbeinu Shem Tuma. He gave them the koyach to give them over the shemus of Tuma.
For Bnei Keturah?
Yeah. To Yitzchak he gave over brachos, they got from Hashem. What was the purpose of giving them shemus Tuma? Okay. So you must say that Avram said, in order for Yitzchak to have Shem HaKodesh, you have to give away the shemus HaTuma.
So what's that?
Zeh. Right? In order for Yitzchak to have a pure bracha, that's only the Kodesh, it would have to go through the birur, the separation, the clarification that would come by separating off Tumah from.
Yeah, but really just said that Avram didn't give Yitzchak the bracha.
He gave everything that he had to Yitzchak. He didn't give him the bracha. Hashem gave him. Avram didn't want to give the bracha to Yitzchak. Right? So it has to come from Hashem. So in order for Yitzchak to have a bracha that would be pure, it comes from Hashem. Avram would give away the koyches hatuma to the Bnei Keturah.
You say money really is the root of all evil. You really think money is the root of all evil?
Money is the root of all evil. Evil is the root of all money.
So it's also true.
It had to be a balance.
It had to be a birur, a clarification. In order for the kedusha of Klal Yisrael to ultimately exist, it has to go through shedding all of the koyches hatuma. Okay. we know that because it was Chazal tells that that's the reason why it wasn't until Yaakov had Yud Beis Shvatim, which were all Kodesh, they had to first go. Avram had to first get rid of Koyach HaTumah from Yishmael, and they had to get rid of the Koyach HaTumah through Esav, so that Yaakov could have Yud Beis Shvatim.
Also pure kedusha.
Huh?
Yaakov Avinu should have the pure kedusha.
So Yaakov Avinu could have pure kedusha. So it presents itself as a question, just understanding what is this Koyach HaTumah. Hashem created Tevurah. Hashem created Tevurah. Right? In order we should have freedom of choice. He creates the Yetzer Hara, opposite of the Yetzer Tov. Another Kedusha and Tum. Is also that we should have a choice. Well, we have that. Without the Yetzer Hara, we have no choice. So Hashem creates the Koyach Hara, and that's called Shem HaTum. Because everything that Hashem created has to have the Koyach of Hashem. So the Koyach Hara also has to have the Koyach of Hashem. That's why Hashem created it. It's its purpose. It's not the opposite of Hashem. We don't accept that Hashem has an anti-God. Christianity did that. The other one, they have a Koyach HaTumah separate. There's the power of good and the power of evil. They're two separate opposite powers. We know they're not opposite powers. We know that really the purpose of the Koyach HaYetzer is so that we should choose Tov. Okay, how do we understand that? How do we get hold of it? So I came up with a demonstration, which is a little bit hard to show you guys on Zoom, but I'll do my best, of how to understand the purpose and the Koyach HaTumah. So I'm going to put aside the Chumash, and we go to the demonstration. I'm sure it's not something you have never seen before. You ever see something like this? Yeah, you can see right through it, right? We all recognize it. It's when we were little children, it's how we learn how to write the aleph beis, right? Take a piece of paper, start to color it, fill up Mommy, look, I made the aleph beis. Right? Yeah, we all went through it. And then we did it with all of our children. So I realized when I was doing this with my children that there is a very interesting concept here. Let me show you how to do it. And I will ask Yehuda to do me a favor, run and shut off the, whoops. It's a battery. Yeah, we'll get it in a second. I just don't know if I need the battery. I'm not sure if the flashlight's going to work. Well, it's old batteries. So I bought some new batteries just in case. I also need I think it should be good enough. Okay. We understand we're given a mashal that a Kodesh Baruch Hu's or the Kodesh HaTeva, Kodesh Baruch Hu's Ratzon, Vayir is an infinite light. And an infinite light will light up everything. There will be no separation. So we say, we know the Chazal tells us that Vayir, that Bereshit says Vayir Elokim Asar Ki Tov. It doesn't say Vayichen. Why? Rashi says, they bring Rashi with the Chazal. Tell us that Hashem took the Or of Shishmei Bereshit, he hid it. Right? We saw that the Rishonim would use that light the wrong way. And therefore Hashem hid it. So if that Hashem hid it, so the Baal Shem says, where did Hashem hide it? He hid it in the Torah. On the other hand, we're taught that Kodesh Baruch Hu, when he created light, in order for us to have Bechira, Hashem would have to hide the light. Because the light of Hashem, the Ratzon of Hashem is so great, there'd be no Bechira. Right. Or there would no be separation. How is it possible that there should exist something that is understood to be separate from Hashem? How is it possible? Hashem is infinite. How does a finite existence ever? How is it possible to exist? Watch this. Okay. Take the flashlight. Okay. Now what do you see?
Shadow.
What do you see?
I think double,
You see an olive
right?
made out of light.
Yeah.
See it, right?
You see?
Yeah, olive.
Yeah.
You see? I don't know if you guys can see it. Let's see if. Yeah. See under. Let's see.
If every were to hold the stencil lower down and the light up on an angle,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, so put the light further down, bending it upward.
Put the light down.
No, you hold the light.
Put the light
hold
down,
it
bend, holding it upward. There we go.
Okay.
And the stencil down on a forward angle.
Okay.
There, now we can see it.
Yeah,
So we
okay.
see an olive phase out of light.
You see olive is out of light. Did the light get any less connected from its source? No. What you now have is an obstacle that limits the light. What does you see? You see the olive and the base. You see the olive base. Oishis shel or, letters made out of light. So when Hashem said, when the Chazal tell us that Hashem used the oishis of olive base to create Shemayim ba'aretz, what's it mean? Does it mean the stuff on the page of the Chumash? It means oishis made out of or of infinite light, but Hashem creates the obstacle, which we have a very different name for it. We'll call it the HaRav. The HaRav limits our receiving the light. The light is never limited. The light always remains infinite.
We just don't see it.
We just don't see it. We only get to see what Hashem allows us to see through the obstacle. And that our choice, the choices that we make, is the choice to either see more light, less light. Right? The closer we get, the smaller it gets. And then if we had one, even if we can do it a little bit better, you could see, here's another one. Oops. A smaller olive base. So there'd be a bigger olive and a smaller olive, and all of those come down so that we could get some of the light, even if it's more limited. And that's our bechira. And our bechira and our choice is to try and get rid of the obstacle so that we get to see Hashem's infinite light. So it's not a chiddush that there's obstacles or klippos or mesach hamavdil, or that Hashem limited the light. That Hashem limited the light of Sheshimei Brachus, because it had to be limited. It had to be limited because otherwise there would never be any bechira, right? So Gonzo, the Rebbe took the light and he hid it. Well, how did he hide it? By putting the obstacles.
Or in the Torah, no?
He put it in Torah. So when we look at when we learn Torah, what we're really seeing is the light of Sheshimei Brachus, because we're looking at the olive base, which is the light of the Ratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu,
Opticals, no?
as it hits the paper. So that means that when the Sofer writes a Sefer Torah, he has a blank white cloth. And he's going to write the Sefer Torah, the Shem Kedusha Sefer Torah. Right? In the Mucham the Shem Kedusha Sefer Torah. What he's doing is putting the ink on the place where the aleph should be. He doesn't have to write the aleph. He's filling in the space because the background is all pure light, and that's called Eish Shachar al Gabi Eish Lavan. The Lashon HaZohar. Hashem created white light, he created dark light, and he wrote the Torah Eish Shachar al Gabi Eish Lavan. When a Sofer writes the light, writes the Eish of olive base, he's putting the black on top of the white background. Which is the greater Kedusha? The blank or the limitation?
White is the complete.
Right. So the
Blank is that's what it said. The blank is the white.
right. So the Eish Lavan, the white light, represents the Or of Sheshimei Brachus, The Sefer limits the light so that we can see what Hashem's Ratzon is for us. See, therefore, every ice has to have white cloth around it. It can't have one ice touching another ice, because if that's the case, if one letter is touching another letter, you're limiting the white. And the white has the greater kedusha than even the letters. So that's why even though if Sefer Torah gets old, and the ink
Voices to get.
go rub off, the cloth is Kurdish. You can't just throw it away. So, okay, there's no more letters on it. I can't read it anymore.
So why is it puzzle?
What? It's only possible because it's so light. There's so much light there that we can't see it. We can't see the dark anymore.
Yeah, but the white is still, the kedusha is still there.
That's right.
Right,
The
so
kedusha
you
is still
can't
there.
throw
So
it away.
therefore, since we can't use it because it's beyond our level of bechira, so we have to be goyness. You have to bury it.
Rebbe,
Yes.
Rebbe. But what
Yeah.
the Samach and the Emdvem though, the Samach and the Mem Sofis, those have total circle.
That's because there's another whole pshat for it. That's only to tell us that the light is there. It doesn't need anything else to hold it up.
But doesn't that represent the Samach Mem?
Yeah. So Samach, you're right. Samach Mem spells Sam, poison or medicine, or the Karchatuma. Right. And that's why the final oishes are called Gvuros and the open oishes are called Chesed. Mansapach, right? Mem non tzadach pei chof, which are the double oishes. The first, when they're in the open oishes, are they called Hey Gvuros, the five koiches of kedusha, which represent our power of speech. And then there's the final oishes, which limit it, and those are called Gvuros. They limit the light. So there is a, I don't know if we have it here, the base iron. I think we do. The base iron from Baron Kalina, the second of Baron Kalina. If not, you'll have to believe me. I know I have one at home, but I thought there was one here too. Yeah, we'll be over there. If it's there, if we have it here, it's there. All right. You have to take a look down on the bottom here, right under the Zohar, because there's some swarm that were a little bit too big for the shelves. It might be there. Yeah. See if it's there. All right. I'll try and bring it from home. In part, and the back of the sefer, he has letters. Letters they wrote, that they show letters that Baron Kalina wrote to other rabbis. And one of the letters, it's like your letter, hello, how are you? I haven't seen you for a long time. And then there's a space. And then he says, and he finishes off the greeting. And he leaves a space in the middle of the letter. And then on the bottom he writes, says, if you are able to understand, you'll see that what's contained in the white space is much greater than the letters that I wrote. It says, but you have to be ready to see the white. You have to know how to read the white, because really, in that sense, when we're learning from a Sefer Torah or learning from a Chumash, we are really reading the white. The black is only to help us see the white. The white. So I heard from long many years ago.
In Borough Park.
Borough Park, yeah. He told me that at one point there was a Slavita Shas for sale. Buying an entire Shas was a fortune. Who could afford a Shas, a whole Shas? A Kehila bought a Shas. Then people couldn't afford. Normal people wouldn't. Big Gvirim had a Shas. Kehila had a Shas. So there was a Slavita Shas that was for sale. And the two bidders, one was Rabbi Yechon Shacham Sifka, the first Shacham Sifka Rebbe, and the other one was the Shoel Meisha of Rabbi Yosef Shoel Nathanson, Rov of Lemberg. They were bidding for it, and Rabbi Yechon outbid the Shoel Meisha. So they came to tell Shoel Meisha that you lost the bid, Rabbi Yechon outbid you. He says, yeah. What does a Rebbe need a Shas for? Rebbe needs a Shas to be on the look good on the swarm shank. So whoever heard it went back to Rabbi Yechon and told him, you know what the Lemberg brother, I think it was Lemberg. They said, what does the Rebbe need a Shas for? Rebbe needs a Shas, so she'll look good on the swarm shank. Right? So he took out a Gemara. Now, if you ever seen the old Slavita Shas, they printed the Shas, big Shas. It was a lot of kavil, a lot of border. They printed with it. It was very border. It looks very brilliant. It looks very, very pure because there's a lot of white, and then the blot of the Gemara is in the middle of it. So he took it out and he held it like this. He says, "Kann sein, als das versteht du in der Mitte, kann besser von mir."
But what in the border?
Aber was Rim kann ich besser von ihm. Now let me translate. It says, could be that the stuff that's printed in black, the letters of the Shas, he knows better than I do. But when it's all around the outside, I know better than he does. We understand that if we think about this, the Or of Hashem, the infinite light of Hashem, and Hashem wants us to be able to benefit through our choice of Torah mitzvahs, then we'd have to be able to recognize that what blocks the Kedusha is what makes it possible for us to have Bechira. So we say these are Koyches HaTumah. That's the Koyach HaTumah that Hashem, then Avram gave to the Bnei Keturah. He told him, he says, there has to be that which differentiates Yitzchak from the rest of the world. How do you differentiate Yitzchak? By giving Yitzchak the bracha that comes directly from Hashem. Avram did not want to be the limitation, the one who gave Yitzchak a limited bracha. He wanted Yitzchak to have an infinite bracha that comes directly from the Eibishter, without limitations. But in order that Yitzchak should have that, Avram would have to then create also the limitation so that Yitzchak will have true Bechira. And therefore, he would give the Shemus HaTumah to Bnei Keturah. So we should be able to know this is Yitzchak, and this is the Koyach HaKadosh, and that's the Koyach HaTumah. So I thank my children for having taught me an important lesson. The stencil is just the way to tell us how to find what we're supposed to see. When we allow ourselves to see what's the purity that comes directly from Hashem, then it's up to us to magnify it. Yeah? The farther we move away the obstacle from the recipient, the greater the letter gets. So when it's right smack up close to it, it becomes a small ice. The farther you go away, the bigger the ice gets. The farther away, the more that we push away the Koyach HaTumah from our choices, the greater we get to see the light of Hashem. So that's why it's by Yosef Avram. Avram added to the koyach that he gave of Yitzchak
By giving to the Keturah.
by taking back Hagar and having Bnei Keturah. So there should be, yes, it could be so. There should be Avram and Goyim. Right? That's true. Avram has got to be the father of many nations. But the real reason why Avram has to be the father of many nations is so that we can know that Yitzchak, we should know that Yitzchak is the
one.
the one that has the bracha.
What happened to the genealogy from the rest of the children?
I don't know. That's the Chinese. According to those who
Research it?
who dabble in that type of stuff, they trace the dynasties, the Chinese dynasties, back to the same period of time as B'nai Keturah. And the one who established the first Chinese dynasty was known as the Yellow Emperor. You know, so that was Abraham, where he was B'nai Keturah. They came to China and established.
There's a group of Chinese, they call themselves the B'nai Menashe, no?
Yeah.
They want to come to Israel. Over 1 million of them.
Seriously?
But Israel cannot absorb
That's
them.
from India.
Huh?
But they were from India.
B'nai Menashe from India.
India?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's from India. So an interesting piece of history, when the Mir Chavel came to China, so the stories that they asked that of Kamlovich, they asked one of the Chinese leaders asked him, so why do the Germans hate the Jews? He says, because we are really Orientals. We're not part of we're not Europeans. We are really Orientals. So he said, okay, you're Orientals, please welcome. We're glad to take you in. There's one of the reasons why they were so welcoming of Klal Yisrael was because of that little piece of chachma. Yeah, sure. You can give me 2 10s also. So if that's the case, then we realize that when the Torah gives us sur merava asay tov, the key to being able to be Oved Hashem is sur merava. We have to move away the obstacles. Asay tov. Tamuru kitay Hashem. Taste and see. The more now, so tamu. It's if you say see, it's not good enough. Tamu, you taste it and you see. Kitay Hashem. It says because the koyach hakdusha is hidden within everything that we use in this world. He says what gives food its taste. Yeah, we have this amazing capacity to taste.
Presentation is 50%.
It's the koyach hakdusha that's in the food. So he says that's pshat in the pasuk. Memory's gone. Ma yafis umanohamt ahava b'tanugim. Ma yafis, how beautiful. Umanohamt, how sweet it is. Ma yafis umanohamt ahava b'tanugim. How sweet it is that you can find that which is ahava in the pleasure, in the things that are good in this world. That if we recognize that what we're really looking for, what we're really tasting, what makes food desirable, is the koyach hakdusha that Hashem puts into the world.
that's why when the Rebbe's give shrine to the Chassidim,
That's right, because the Rebbe takes away the kliput. So
puts in the condition to the food.
So what's left is the kedusha. That's the purpose of shrine, and it's al-chara de b'chazal very clearly. Whoever eats it, the benefits from Suda B'Talmud Chacham, as if they benefited from korbanos. No, the shrine was not such a chiddush. That's the definition of the korbanos, right? That was that which had to be brought on the mizbech, and the rest was given to Klal Yisrael, to Kahana, Klal Yisrael to eat. we have benefit from it? Because that's when we give away back to Hashem what is the obstacle, then we're left with the essence. We don't, it's not, we're offering to Hashem the best part. We're offering to Hashem the emurim, the insides, the different parts, so that we can get, so the Quran can get chazav v'shoik, can get the front leg and the brisket. And then if there's bottom, they get the rest of the carbon. So what was put on the mizbeach is that which we should not benefit from, because that gets the obstacles. So we put on the mizbeach, we give it back to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So then the parsha Bnei Keturah makes sense. And then also Matan, she gave them the koyach Hashem HaSatuma, so that none of the tumah will be left with Yitzchak. And Abraham recognizes that that's his final mission. His final purpose is to separate that off. All right, so Be'ez Hashem, we were able to see Tamur, we were able to see the beautiful and the benefit of that which is good in everything we have. The Shabbos Kodesh.
Amen.
Everybody have a wonderful Shabbos.